Many pastors see their children as their greatest joy and at other times their greatest frustration and heartache. Honestly, there is no such thing as the perfect family, the perfect parent, or the perfect child, including those in ministry.
Well, you have no idea how much I get teased for being a preacher's kid. I can't go to school dances, can't celebrate Mardi Gras, can never go to my friends' sleepovers. And now that Halloween is coming up, I can't even participate in those activities. All the kids are always laughing and talking about me, and I just had enough of that.
Preachers' kids who live their faith may do so for a variety of reasons. Many preachers' kids are deeply hurt by the way the church members treat their parents. Young people see these conflicts as hypocrisy. They then begin to question their own faith.
Of course it does. I'm always the one making the family look bad. Y'all really act like I'm disgracing the family name or something.
It has not been so easy, so to speak. I won't say that I loved it by then, but I think as at now, I would say maybe it's something that I appreciate being a pastor's kid, or rather a pastor's son. I did not really love it then because of probably the expectations that the society are expecting from me, of course, being a pastor's son. I think there's that expectation that you have to be perfect.
During my time to be a pastor's kid, it was a very exciting time. And I grew up in an environment that had so many people around me. And I realized that growing in a pastor's family, a lot of sacrifices were to be made, because many people had a lot of expectations.
The society expects more from the PKs, and that expectation makes the PK to do what they cannot do. PK are just children like other children. It's only that their parents are serving in another role, different from the roles that the society or the people in the society are serving.
That's one of the things that really made me probably not really like being a pastor's son, because it is at that particular point that you don't really live your life. You like you live someone else's life, as in you fake. You're not being the real you. So I would say by then I didn't like it, but I think with the time when now I gave my life fully to Christ and getting into ministry, I have actually appreciated it. I think it's something that if I was, like, say, born again by then, I would have really appreciated it, so to speak.
When preachers' kids walk away from the faith in which they have been brought up, it is a sad thing and a poor testimony to the truth of Christianity and even to their parents' reputation.
Yeah, so what causes PKs to go against what their parents profess? I would say, or rather, I would really want to point out two major things. Number one, pressure from the society. And I think this is something that really affects the PKs, because again, it is something that this is like, I would say, a lot is expected from them, and they are not angels. They will make mistakes. For instance, let me just say this, or rather let me just point out like this one scenario. If a daughter, or rather if a son of an elder in the church or any congregant in the church, if they mess up, for instance, if they get pregnant, or they mess up in any way, that will not be news. But if a pastor's son or daughter messes up, gets pregnant, or gets another girl pregnant, that will be a huge thing.
Pastors' kids, they are a target of the enemy because of the mandate God has given them for the kingdom. The enemy knows if he attacks them, then he is able to have his way in the ministry. and to interfere with the focus of the ministers of the gospel.
There were 50 families at our church in West Virginia. The first Sunday in Dallas, 1,500 people joined our church. From the eyes of an 8-year-old, there was no moment where it went from 1,500 to 36,000 because it all seemed so big. Everyone was a stranger and everyone wanted something from you.
Pressure from the society, pressure from the community, pressure from the congregation, of which now this leads to them living a fake life. When they come to church, they want to fit in, as in please the expectation, or rather try to meet the expectation of the people. But on their own, they're into something else. So I would say pressure from the society really affects how a pastor's kid's life is, and how they live, and how they even relate to other people, and how even they relate to their parents. Because of course, because of that same pressure which is instilled to them through their parents, I believe even in their homesteads, they're not real, they're not true to themselves. They'll come, do whatever probably is expected of them, but it's not really coming out of their heart, or rather that's not who really they are.
The society sometimes puts a lot of demand on pastors' kids, whether in the rural or in the urban. There is a way they expect the pastors' kids to behave. But pastors' kids, they are just like any other kid, and they have challenges like any other child, whether growing in the city or in the countryside.
I think it's very important you clearly define their identity and their role as PKs in ministry, because you have to separate the pastoral bit. When you are in church, as a father, as a mother, you are their pastor. But when you are at home, you have to be a father, you have to be a mother. The pastoral bit, you have to lay it aside a bit. For the PKs themselves not to be aware of who they are and what is expected of them. And this is as a result of the parents not really clearly define roles, or rather distinguish between them being parents to these people and being pastors to these people. So you have to separate the two. You have to be a pastor, of which that is true, but you also need to be a father, or rather you need to be a mother to them.
Preachers' kids are often under a lot of pressure to be perfect, or at least to act like it, so they won't disgrace the family and the church. So they try to live up to everyone's expectations, and this can lead them to practice the very hypocrisy they see in others. Especially in smaller churches, the pastor's family is put on a pedestal with everyone watching their every move.
Well, I think that there's this pressure to really define who you are. We moved to Dallas, I was 8 years old, and people wanted to know if I was going to be the next Bishop Jakes. And I was 8, you know, and so...
It wasn't to preach your first sermon, you know?
Yeah. And when they find out that you can't sing and that you don't shout, or they notice you weren't worshiping in service, they want to know what's wrong with you. And so you start to believe that maybe there is something wrong with you because I'm not reacting the way they want me to. There must be something wrong with me. And so I spent many years trying to figure out what was wrong with me instead of actually loving me.
Being a pastor, this is a calling. It's not a career. It's not like something you go to school, you learn to be a pastor. It's a calling. So I would say if the calling of God is on you, be obedient, listen to the voice of God, get into ministry. But if the calling of God is not in you, you can serve God in many other different areas. There are people who are doing well in their different, careers in the secular world, in the corporate, they are doctors, they are engineers, they are lawyers who are born again and they are doing well. So I would say that it's not necessarily that you do what your parents are doing, because this is not something like you inherit from them. It's a calling, and unless that calling has been confirmed, well and good, get into ministry. If it has not been confirmed, please go ahead and do whatever you are good, as in, if you are good in media, do media. If you are good in mathematics, do any career that is related to mathematics. If you are good in science, follow your path, but don't get into ministry if it is not your thing. You will terribly fail.
Not all PKs should be on the altar. And why am I saying so? We are gifted differently. Some need to be on the other side. Others need to serve on a different capacity. And let me say that we cannot all serve on the altar. Generally, we cannot all serve on the altar.
It is a joy when pastors' kids are seen actively taking part in ministry. Most of them are talented in singing and playing an instrument. What if they have another gifting that is not as loud and cannot be seen at the altar oftentimes?
The issue of the altar is just a small part of the ministry. As a pastor, when I stand to preach on a Sunday, it takes so many people for us to have a service on a Sunday. I'll just stand there and preach for 45 minutes. But for us to have a full service, there are many other gifts that have been involved for us to have a service. There are people who have been on the altar singing, others have been ushering, others have been washing the toilets, others are greeting the visitors, others are even just offering the smile to the people who are coming to the congregation. Others are serving visitors, others are in the kitchen. So we have the technicians, we have the security people. So it takes many people for us to have a service. And it's important for us to know that all of us cannot be on the pulpit. There are people who are doing even a lot outside the pulpit.
Did being a PK influence my career choice? I would say yes. Because of course now I'm a pastor. I'm an ordained minister with the Kenya Assemblies of God. I'm in full-time ministry. So I would say I think it grew with time. I would actually not really accept that I would be in ministry. I never dreamt of being a minister. I never dreamt of being a pastor at any given moment. And I think even the way we've been brought up, being raised in a pastor's house, or rather being raised in a pastor's family, you wake up, you need to pray, you need to study your Bible. Before you go to bed, you need to pray, you need to study your Bible, you need to share. You have a study Bible plan that you have to follow. So I think those are some of the things that I really didn't like them, but I think they have made me to be who I am today. And I would say that it's by God's grace that I was chosen also to do ministry and to be a full-time minister. And as at now, I appreciate it. I love it. It's something that I know that I have the calling of God over my life, and it's something that I enjoy doing. And I'll say that for sure, being a pastor's kid has really played a big role. And probably the way I've been brought up, it has really played a big role being whom I am today and what I do today. Would all pastors' kids, should they all explore their talents, or rather maybe serve in the altar?
I'm cultivating the culture that is in my house, is in my marriage. And when I cultivate this culture, I transmit it to my children. I see in the Bible where Jesus was taught about issues to do with carpentry. The father was a carpenter, and Jesus was taught about that. We see the disciples of Jesus, John, Peter, their fathers were fishermen. So when Jesus was calling them, he called them when they were fishing. So it means that that culture and that trade was transmitted to them. Whatever I'm cultivating in my marriage, in my life, I'm cultivating it and transmitting it to the children. And then the most important thing is prayer. I pray for the children, I pray for the PK, and I also pray for my child that he or she will follow the footsteps of the Father, not clearly the footsteps, but we are trying to make a society that we are representing Christ, and even our children are representing Christ.
The environment I grew in helped me a lot, just to know that the world is in need, and the world needs hope. And Jesus said that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And he prayed a prayer that the Lord of the harvest will send more laborers. And as we see many needs around us, I think there are people who should respond to that call and move out in faith and begin to respond to that cry, because the same cry is still there today. And my growing up in a pastor's home, I think, has really influenced me a lot, had an impact in my ministry, because my father was a good role model. And I believe that that has enriched me a lot to be what I am today.
I'm privileged to oversee the pastor's kids ministry in the Kenya Assemblies of God. And one of my main objectives, or rather one of my main things, is to bring them together as a team, as a family. I think one of our slogans, we say we are a family knitted together for the following reasons. Number one, you see, no one understands us the challenges that we go through as pastors' kids. And one of the things that I actually realize is that we have common problems. And we are the ones who understand what happens in our homes. I'll probably give you one example. You've been raised up in a pastor's family, and when visitors come, you have to give up your bedroom. You come sleep on the couch to allow the visitors sleep in your bedroom. And these are some of the things that probably other people might not be aware of. So what we did, we decided to come as a family, we decided to come as a ministry. Number one, to encourage one another. Number two, just to tell them that it is okay being a pastor's kid, being a pastor's son, and you didn't have a choice.
Anyone who has been called by God to this ministry, he needs to understand that it is not for you alone. You need to teach the church, you need to teach your children, and you need to teach the society. So when you teach, you are changing, and you need to change. The first change comes with you. What I was taught is that more is caught than taught. What you are doing is what people will emulate. So as a pastor, live to the standards of a Christian.
And also to know that there are priorities. God is number one. Their wife is number two. Their children is number three. And their ministry comes number four. And they need to give a lot of concentration to their families.
Be a pastor at church, be a parent at home. These PKs need you as a father, number one, need you as a mother, then they need you as a pastor, but priority is they need you as a parent first.
To the PKs, they should not take it for granted that they have been found in the pastor's kids' home, their parents are pastors. They should understand that it is God who called the pastor. It is God who called the parent. And they also need to reach to a point they support the pastor, they support the parents.
As far as identity is concerned, if they know who they are, if they know what is expected of them, if they get to understand that they are just like any other human being, that is where it all starts.
They need to obey their parents. The book of Ephesians is very clear. Children, be obedient to your parents. And they do their best. They be open to talk to their fathers and their mothers, and let them express their feelings openly, so that they can receive help. And they should know that it is a blessing that they are born in the house of a pastor.
The society, don't expect so much from the pastor's kids. Of course, I know their parents are role models and they are also expected to be role models, but they will also make mistakes. When they make mistakes, don't judge them. Don't be so harsh on them. Encourage them. Talk to them. Speak life to them. That is what they need from you guys. They don't need your criticism. They actually don't need you to come and judge them harshly. Don't be so hard on them. Be soft, be kind, show love to them. They need that love. They need that encouragement from you.
To the society, I want to say that they should know that pastors' kids, they are just like any other child. And they can make mistakes and they need to be forgiven. And to support them. Instead of them, throwing stones at them, look for ways to speak good words to them, encourage them, pray with them, support them, and give them an opportunity to grow in the journey of life. It is a blessing that they are born in the house of a pastor, and they have every blessing God has for them.
God bless you so much.